Getting into PC gaming can be a little bit expensive sometimes, especially if you want to be involved with AAA titles. But if you're not too interested in those and maybe are looking for more esports titles or maybe even indie titles, what if I told you that you could spend less than $100 on a machine and have all the performance that you need? Today's video is brought to you by FanFit Gaming. Be sure to check out their awesome neon lights in the link in the description below. So for under $100, this is what I was capable of conjuring up. Now, you won't be able to really buy a machine new for $100. That's just not gonna really happen. So used is the way to go. And if you find parts individually, they'll probably add up to be too much. But if you can find a pre-configured system that somebody else built that's just old, that's the way to go. And then if you can swap out a few pieces that are kind of bottlenecking you or just old or don't work, you can put something else in it. We did a little bit of both, and for around $70, this is what we're able to create. We'll get into numbers for games FPS-wise in just a second, but let's talk about what's inside this machine. So it has an AMD Athlon processor. It is an Athlon 2 X3 450. Not the most amazing processor in the world. It's definitely old. It's on DDR2 for the platform. So we're back a couple generations, but it does work. It's got 3 cores, 3 threads, and it runs at 3.5. So for its hertz. So that's pretty good. It's not, like I said, amazing, but it's good enough for most games these days, at least to a certain degree. We'll get to those numbers and see how that affects it in a second. We have 6 gigs of DDR2 RAM. We have a Radeon 6570 GPU inside, and that is an older card and not a very beefy one in that series specifically. So it's not very powerful, but it's just about enough to do just a little bit of gaming. If you find something better, that would definitely help you out, but you will start to get slowed down by the CPU. So these two kind of work fairly well together because of their age, but yes, a better GPU would take you further. We have a 500 gigabyte hard disk drive inside. We obviously have a power supply. I believe it is a 500 watt, but that's definitely plenty for this generation, how old it is, and it works fine. We have a DVD burner slash writer. We also have the case itself, which is enormous and has 2 massive fans on the side. But the very first thing that I needed to do with this machine was to clean it out, because it was filthy. So first things first, when you buy an old machine, take it apart, clean it out well, figure out what does and doesn't work very well, or is there's any heating problems or all types of issues. Do that first. It will go a very long way. But this machine is capable of playing games, and that's really what we want to see, specifically what it can do with games. Obviously, AAA titles are going to be difficult, and I did try them, and I will report those numbers, but definitely not what you're looking to do. You want to play games like League of Legends or Hearthstone or indie titles, even maybe a little bit of CSGO. You'll be able to do that more specifically on this type of machine rather than something like Grand Theft Auto or Rise of the Tomb Raider or other AAA titles. You have to be very careful about that. So let's jump into the FPS averages for what this machine could handle for specific games. So my testing methodology for the first game is League of Legends, and we just wanted to see if it could play it at 60 FPS. So we locked it in, medium settings, and you know what? It played it perfectly fine. Things ran smoothly, it was just good to go. 60 FPS, that's fine. I know people who complain about having League not run well for them at all, but you know what? We got it easily running on this machine, so 60 FPS in League, you're gonna be good to go. The next title that we tested was Counter-Strike Go. Now I wanted to see if it could handle this game. I thought it would be a little bit more difficult, and it definitely was. We averaged around 35 to 40 FPS for this game. Not amazing, especially for CSGO players who love as many FPS as they can get. But hey, if you can't afford a machine, this is definitely okay. And I will say it was at least fairly playable. There were occasional dips because of the hardware, but I would say you could play it if you really needed to. Next, we tested Hearthstone. Hearthstone likes to lock itself at 60 FPS, and we were able to lock at 60 FPS on medium to low settings. Low played a little bit smoother, occasional hiccups at medium, but low was solid and smooth at 60 FPS. Good to go. Obviously not a super intensive game as well, but a super fun game, so if you're looking to play that, this will definitely handle that. Now the next 3 games I tested were to see the capabilities of pushing this machine. The first one is Overwatch. Overwatch ran at about 40 FPS, and I would actually say was mildly playable. Now, it was downscaled in its resolution quite a bit, and it was on the absolute lowest setting, but we averaged about 40 FPS, There were some, little hiccups and some slowdowns occasionally in chaotic fights, but I played a match completely through a set of 3. We won them all. I felt like I was contributing and not like I was hiccuping all around, but I will say Overwatch looks horrible on the lowest settings, so something to be aware of, but it did sort of play it. The next game was Dirt Rally, and actually I did not think this would be able to handle it at all, but it actually played Dirt Rally on the lowest settings, but it played it at the native resolution of the monitor, which was 1080p, and it did it at 72 FPS, which I was a bit surprised by. So the game definitely looks like it's from the PS2 era of days, but hey, it works and it's a game, so if you want to play it, you definitely have the power to do so. And then our final title, this was really pushing it. I went with Rise of the Tomb Raider on the lowest settings with the lowest resolution possible, and we averaged 30 FPS is what it told me. Would it be playable? Honestly, I don't think it'd be very playable if you actually tried, but if you really wanted to give it a shot, I mean, you could. It at least wasn't crashing, and it has DirectX 11 support, so it's playable. But yeah, it definitely was not the smoothest experiment. So there you have it. Those are like actually okay numbers for a machine that costs well under $100 if you're looking to play some things that are simple. Maybe you're only into League of Legends, maybe you're only into Hearthstone and some like really, really easy to play indie games. This would totally work for you. So if you don't have a gaming PC or you want to get into gaming PCs, maybe this is a really cheap way to start. Obviously, what you find might not be, exactly this machine. I almost guarantee you that it won't be. And maybe you'll find a better processor that will actually help a bit more in your titles. Same with the GPU, it'll just help you more. Maybe you can land on DDR3 for the platform, not DDR2, because this is a ways back in the day. So if you can find some better upgrades, it'll definitely go a lot further, but it is possible. So if you don't have the money or you're a little strapped for cash, this is definitely a possibility. I want to thank you guys for checking out this video and watching it. If you could subscribe if you haven't and you enjoyed this video, obviously we'll have more in the future, and leave a like if you could. But other than that, I'll see all of you in the next video.